So time is now 4:30. I'm calling to order the General Government City Council Subcommittee meeting for the general government. Here today, we are joined by committee member on the Dean of the Council, Councilor Katie Walsh. We are joined by Councilor Govan. We are joined by Councilor Tracy Whitfield, Councilor Maria Perez, and former Springfield Council and veteran himself, Councilor Sergeant Gomercinda Gomez. And we have also joining us Bakul from the Parking Authority. And who's Josuez? Is Josue's actual iPhone? Can you identify yourself, Josue? Oh, from Focus Springfield. Gotcha. Okay. All right, and here in person, we are joined by veteran himself, Mr. Ed Collins, who's here joining us on the chambers. Anyways, when we get started, the purpose is to discuss the amendment to Article 5 of Chapter 385 of the ordinance of the Springfield City Council. I'm going to read the proposed changes, and this with the purpose of using Section 385-17A, veteran use of municipal parking meters. And I will read it's very short, the ordinance being proposed. Any veteran who holds a veteran license plate as defined below should be able to utilize all municipal parking meters in the city provided for in Chapter 385 without a fee to utilize said meter. A veteran's license plate should be defined as a license plate that is issued to a veteran as defined by the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 4, Section 7, Clause 43, by the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles that includes the wording veteran on said plate. The veteran must be driving a vehicle with the veteran's license plate on the vehicle to be able to utilize the municipal parking meters referenced above without a permit or fee. This ordinance shall not extend to any veteran that is utilizing a vehicle without a permit, without veteran's license plate. This ordinance shall not be interpreted to include veterans' uses of a handicap parking spot without the required permits and required placards. This ordinance was presented to the council on July 8th, and we passed the first step. It is my hope that in the next council meeting, which I believe is going to be Monday, October 28th, we are going to pass a final step. And so we're here to discuss this ordinance. Before I turn it over to the panel, I would like to say that this is being literally duplicated by the ordinance that was passed in Holyoke and also in the city of Pittsfield. I do personally believe that is a good way of simply saying thank you to our veterans. And with that, I open the floor. Let's start with Bakul. Bakul, good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So Bakul, we would like to get your thoughts on this ordinance, as you are actually, can you identify yourself, please, for the...
Yes, hi, my name is Bakul Bhuya. I'm the Executive Director at the Springfield Parking Authority.
Thank you, Bakul. Bakul, what are your initial thoughts?
We support our veterans, as you know. We're happy to do whatever is necessary. We have in place a policy to honor handicap placards. Folks who have the placards on their vehicles, they're, as you know, authorized to park in any city parking meter spaces without having to pay for it. So we support our veterans, and we can implement similar policies in place to make sure that anyone who has a veteran's plate issued by the RMV, that they're treated similarly as folks with handicap placard licenses. I would like to share with you, just so those of you who are not familiar with the history of this, parking meters and collections and revenues. I was contacted by Attorney Ken Shea, I believe, I
Right.
think he was tasked to gather some data for you. And I remember back and forth with him sharing some information that before the MGM garage was constructed, we had a much bigger downtown area for parking enforcement. We had more meters on Howard Street and some of the other streets where the casino is now. Those are taken offline back in 2018. And then obviously the pandemic, folks are working from home, they don't come downtown. And then additionally, we had constructions at the Mass Mutual Center area all around it and Core Street. And then now we have some of the restaurants who are building outdoor seating dining area. As a result, our overall operation has shrunk significantly. So if you're thinking about annual revenue generated from enforcement tickets, late fees, coins from the meters, we were generating between 1.8 and $2 million in gross revenues from this on-street program going back to 2010, 2012. And then again in 2018, when the MGM opened, we lost some revenues. And now we're bringing in about $1.2 million a year. So that supports the expenses, the meter maids for writing tickets, the software fees that we issue that to write a ticket, and then it goes into the software. We track payments, meter fixing, signage replacements, some of the vehicles we use on street, driving around in the cold conditions. So currently it's a balanced budget. Whatever we generate, it helps pay for some of the expenses that I just mentioned. I just wanted you to be aware of the history as we make decisions going forward. At some point, we may have to consider, I know nobody wants to hear it, but I have to do this. This is my job. That may be some rate increases for the city, just to keep up with other benchmark communities like Hartford, Northampton, Worcester, and other cities. That'll help us pay for the cost of what we do on street. So thank you for listening.
So Bakul, what's currently the actual rate for on-street meter parking?
I'm sorry, the rate for on-street is 50 cents per hour.
And if you want to increase it, will the increase to what?
We have been proposing $1 per hour, quarter for every 15 minutes for several years. And that's what's been happening in other cities. And I'm not comparing us to Boston, of course, but other similar type cities. Part of the reason is we want to allow, credit card payments with an app and credit card payments with a meter, but there is fees associated with that. It's about 30 cents taken out from our 50 cents. So that leaves us 20 cents left. So it's not feasible for us with such low fees for 1 hour meter parking. If the rates were increased, we would be able to possibly provide pay by foot, pay stations where you would go into a meter and put in your license plate number and pay for your car, for example. Or sometimes you could go into a meter and pay with cash or credit card and take the receipt and place it on your dashboard. Just to give you a couple of examples, we would like to invest in some of those technologies to make it more convenient for us.
Right.
And also that would allow us to not have so many poles that are bent, broken. Those are just old-fashioned meters, going back, 30, 40 years. So to keep up with technology, I think we have to spend some money. And to spend some money, we have to raise the rates.
Bakul, before I turn it over to my colleagues, so this potential increase of $1, you've been talking about this for a while. So this is nothing new.
Yes, our contract with the city of Springfield requires me to submit a budget to the CAFO. I used to work with TJ Plant, those of you who know him very well.
Yep.
Every time we went there, it was sort of shut down. No, city council is not going to want to hear it. Well, just so you know, annually I've been proposing it and I've given them presentations based on other communities and what they have done. and why it is recommended that we actually try to slowly increase our rates, but it has always been pushed back that the city council wouldn't want to hear it. So we'll come back to this at a later time. And that's been going on for the last 15 years, just so you know.
Very well. Okay, I got some more questions, but I want to turn it over to my colleagues first. I see Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Bokul. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for explaining the information that you explained. You know, there's several reasons we don't want to raise the rates, right? Because of, you know, different situations, but sometimes it just makes sense to advance in technology, and it makes sense to make tracking the funds that's really coming in more accurate. I mean, there might be a cost savings with, if you do have new technology, you might not need as many staff, although we don't want to get rid of jobs. Maybe if there's one in the budget that's not already, you know, got a hiree in it. There are a couple of things I want to ask you, but there are a couple of things I also want to suggest to the council for consideration. What I wanted to ask you, oh, well, cool. I just forgot what I wanted to ask you.
It'll come back to you.
Oh, no, and develop a budget with them on what the technology would cost, because as a city, for us to grow economically, we do have to advance our technology. It's a hard reality that we need to be discussing. We are not in the old school days anymore. They're teaching technology right in school from kindergarten. My granddaughter takes computer classes in kindergarten and has been working on the computer since she was about 2-3 years old. Kids get phones right away, and our city has to advance in technology, so I agree with you. But have you spoken with IT department to come up with a budget for it?
Usually we work with the city finance. They ask us to propose whatever we would like to see on the budget. And then it is reviewed with their department and the
Well, I
mayor.
worked in the budget, right? So I worked in the budget department for the city. So I do know the process, but if colleagues don't and want to hear it, yes, it's a review. You present your real world budget, the finance department reviews it. They say, well, we need a certain amount of a cut. You go back and you cut, but sometimes, well, cool, we got to push back a little bit. We got to let counselors know what's going on and what the city needs, so we can also advocate. And this is something important to advocate for, right? So that response for 15 years should not have been the only conversation that you were having about, you know, raising the rates. While I don't agree with 100%, it is needed. And on that, we do have funds in the city, but somewhere hiding in the MGM fund that we could slash the rates for a few years. We could give some type of subsidy so we can grow our technology and things like that. And we can't even do it right away until technology is upgraded. So maybe that would be a good use of money for the community if we did have this technology in place.
Thank you for that. And thank you for the opportunity to explain. I don't know, some of you, maybe Councilwoman Walsh will remember, I used to actually get invited to go to the budget committee hearings before the budget was adopted, but lately I haven't been invited to kind of push back, as you said. But we have, go ahead.
Oh, you can always come to us.
You can come to us directly.
Yeah.
Like, we can have conversations with you because it's our job to know what's going on with the city. So Councilor Walsh, I agree with you 100%. And thank you for saying that. And Boku, thank you for bringing it up right now, because these are things we have to talk about. I'm sorry, Councilor Dava, I'm gonna cut my statement, but I think these are all important things to say, because I go to Boston, I work statewide now, and I pay on machines everywhere I go.
Right.
And it's easier than me digging in my pocket, looking on the floor in the car for some change, some quarters.
That
so
nobody ever had.
that nobody ever has. I gotta
Mhm.
go somewhere and get change, and then
That
like
just happened to me.
for a $25 ticket, and out there, some of those fees are more than that, like $50 tickets. So this all makes sense to me. And Councilor Davila, how do we move forward in talking about it? Maybe maybe you should have a conversation with Councilor Allen.
I think first we've got to pass the benefit for the veterans.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're here for, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So Councilor Whitfield, I think my initial thought, ma'am, is that we can either talk definitely with Councilor Allen,
Mm,
bring Bokul to the pilot committee because there we have some
yes, yes, yes,
to,
Counselor.
and I agree with you, Councilor Whitfield, that
Mhm.
this is something that needs to be looked at. That for 15 years is way too long.
15 years of no, that's pretty discouraging.
What? Like, the council won't like it. How do you know?
Nobody asked.
Bokul, there's
Nobody
definitely
asked us.
interest in the council, as you can tell. But I agree with Councilor Whitfield, we need to pass this today. I do have a point to bring up in a second, but first I want to turn it over to Councilor Govan. And then Councilor Perez.
Can I
Thank
just,
you, Mr. Chair.
can I just clarify what it is we're adding to the amendment that we need to discuss today?
Oh, yes, please.
Oh, yes, please, Councilor Walsh.
What's the additional,
So what they're saying is that they want to have veterans plates not have to pay for parking in the
Yes,
city.
that, I support that.
Well, I support that. My dad was a veteran also,
Yeah.
so.
But
Yeah.
I'm
So
going to.
I think I have the floor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Whitfield, yeah, why
Thank
don't
you,
we,
Mr.
Councilor
Chair.
Govan, follow up with Councilor Perez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions for Goku. How many staff do you have on the traffic, the parking?
We have a 5 staff. Some of them are, a couple of them are part-time, but 5 staff members who are out there enforcing. And then an additional 2 people who are out collecting the meters in the coins from the meters, processing
I
those.
saw them today.
Yeah,
They're
so we
doing their
have,
job. I saw them.
thank you. We have different zones, so we go to different
Mhm.
sections in different days and
Okay.
we alternate. Yes, thank you for asking.
And are you a city department?
We're not. It's interesting.
You're
We
not.
are a
That's what I
quasi
thought.
state entity. We're created by
Mhm.
special legislation. So the city has given us, when the control board was here in 2008, actually, city has given us the on-street contract to operate, eventually even the towing contract. And then we are required under that contract to hire a private vendor to run those operations. So I'm the middle person communicating with finance and you.
I see. And then how many vacancies do you have in your,
It's a tough role to fill. As you know, they don't like writing tickets. They get threatened and the conditions are not always ideal. It
Mhm.
gets extremely cold. So, and they have to go through background checks by the police department to make sure they have a clean background. So we struggle to maintain those folks, and then the pay rates are not too attractive. We have been also trying to encourage a little bit of higher wages for those folks who are there writing tickets. All that is kind of intertwined, if you would, because we haven't been able to increase the rates for meters. We haven't been able to make some of these changes that we had been hoping to make. For example, I was in Lowell the other day, just looking through their downtown areas and to see how they do their parking. Their signs look newer, their electric poles look newer, their meters, the pay stations look newer, city streets look cleaner, and obviously, we wanted to make our city look like that. So that's why I bring this up. This is actually a good timing that we speak, so I had direct access to you. I'm grateful.
right? Okay, so I still don't know how many vacancies you have, but
Oh, no,
Um,
I do not. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
that's okay.
We continuously try to keep those positions filled. We don't really have any vacancies.
So
Usually,
you don't have vacancies.
no. If you have somebody leave,
Okay.
we within a couple of weeks. Yes.
Okay, and you mentioned towing, the towing contract. How do you get the towing company?
So every 3 years we issue a bid, and we try to get somebody who's local, who has the capacity to, respond to a towing call from the police department within 20 minutes, for example. We have had the same vendor for many years. We have reached out to other smaller companies. We have sent notices to other towing companies to participate in the bid. We haven't had much luck. So right now we're with CJ's Towing.
Yeah,
They're on
CJ's
contract.
Towing has been there for a very, 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 very long time.
Yes.
And I know a few other towing companies that might be interested. But regarding the amendment to the ordinance, I am certainly in favor of awarding our veterans any benefits that we can offer them. I'm in total agreement for that because my three brothers are veterans, and I believe in supporting our vets. So I will certainly support this amendment.
Thank you, Councilor Kawhi. Councilor Perez?
One more time.
Councilor Perez?
Sorry, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the issues, since we are discussing this ordinance, since MGM came, we have to look also on the handicap parking. It seems that it's less and less. Actually, on Chestnut Street, there's an issue right now because they have these buildings and handicap parking was not an issue, but people from like the Chestnut Tower, from the other side of this other condo that is renting to people, handicap for the people has been an issue. So I think that we have to also, I'm recommending to the subcommittee to look into that because lately I've been receiving a lot of calls from the constituents, unable to park. And I think one of the things that have make it difficult, what I hear from the constituents, that now we have the restaurants outside, so it's easier for people to park, but very limited when it comes to handicap parking.
Sure.
And it has not been discussed. So looking at the ordinance, I'm supporting the ordinance 100%. My family comes from military also as well. But I think the handicap parking issue, we need to look at it as a prior
Absolutely.
recommendation. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Councilor Perez. I just want to do a quick time check. The time is now 4:50, and as you know, we start at 4:30 due to technical difficulties. The next meeting is at 5:30, and that's the finance committee. So I do believe that if we go to about 5:20, that should be acceptable. Councilor, Councilor Walsh, followed by Councilor Whitfield.
Like my colleagues, I support the ordinance, but I have to tell you that I was recently downtown looking for parking, and I had no quarters. And I'm looking all around for where do I put my credit card? How come I can't find, like they do in other cities and towns, an app? So I'm walking up and down the street trying to find how to do it, and it wasn't there. I think, we definitely have to look into the technology. Certainly don't want it to have it come at the expense of supporting our veterans. But Victor, are we just talking about city parking, or did you want to talk about the garages?